Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Our Life. Today we're playing the charity moment, which I believe is unfortunately the last moment we have in this game because the DLC for Step 3 isn't out and Step 4 isn't out at all. But after we do this, I think we still have the epilogue, so it's not quite over with this, but it's just about over. Oh god. Oh my god, my baby in his volunteer shirt for Orca. Oh my gosh, so cute. Cove pushed himself to his feet from where he had bent down in the sand, stretching out his back and groaning softly. A tired breath slipped past his lips as he wiped his brow, looking out over the shore. It looks great. You stood beside him, joining in the surveying of the sand that almost seemed to sparkle beneath the midday sun. The two of you had been out on the beach since sunrise, cleaning up and down the beach looking for various debris, and the work had paid off. Using a hand to shield your eyes from the blinding rays, you glanced across the way to where the other volunteers from Orca were gathered. They were easily recognizable by the high V's vests they wore. It looked as though everyone was about ready to wrap things up for the day. Let's see, I'm happy to see it in a better state. I'm exhausted. You did great, Cove. Let's just butter him up. The beach looks better than I've seen it in ages. I couldn't have done it without you. And the other volunteers too, obviously. No one needs to know. No one cares about them. We did a pretty good job, didn't we? You shared a smile, relieved to soon be able to take a break, but feeling proud of what you had accomplished. Cove placed his hands on his hips, a pleased grin pulling up the corners of his mouth as he admired the work you'd both done. You'd begun to realize during your time volunteering for the organization how seriously Cove took his service. It was easy to see that it was something important to him. You felt equally as invested and always gave it your best efforts, enjoyed the work, Miranda was right. You didn't want to be there, but you didn't know how to turn it down. I don't know how to tell you this, Cove, but I just don't care. I didn't know how you'd take it. I really hate this. Even if it was for a good cause, it just wasn't your kind of thing. Oh, we're just selfish, and it's just, get real, it's just how it is. But the beta is out? I don't think I should be playing the beta for Sensations. I think they get angry at me if I played it on my channel. I don't know. It's been a good year so far. It's crazy to think that it's already time to push the big event. You let out a big breath, thinking of the formal dinner that the ORCA organized every year. Being a completely fundraising-focused event for large donors, it was crucial for the organization's projects in the year to come. You had to be over 18 to attend, so this was your first opportunity to actually see it in person. All you had heard about it so far was that it was a prim and proper occasion, with speeches and everything. You didn't know what else to expect from it, as you weren't part of the group who planned the evening. Before the big night came around, the volunteers would have to sell tickets for it, and that's where you'd be helping. I'm so excited. Nervous. I don't really want to go. Oh my god. Should I be the awful person that I am in real life? I don't want to go. Oh my god. You looked out over the ocean, giving a small sigh. It doesn't sound like something I'd enjoy. Cope's gonna get so sick of me now that I'm being my real self. It's like, the flirting stage of this relationship is over, and now I'm just revealing myself to be a boring, selfish person. I can agree with you there, but it's part of the program. I just don't feel excited about attending a super formal meal with proper etiquette and stuff, you know? He threw his arms out to the side, making a bit of a show at how ridiculous it seemed to him. I've got sand all over my room and only one nice shirt, and I go barefoot pretty much wherever I can. I'm gonna be so out of place. Can you repeat that last part? Barefoot? Excuse me? I'm kidding. Right, I bet you'd rather stay out here. I don't have to worry about manners. You can make it work for one night. Yeah, I don't want to have to worry about manners. I bet the soles of his feet are so dry and cracked. What if they have more than one fork like in the movies, and I have to pick the right one? What am I supposed to do then? You groaned at the thought, dragging your feet through the sand while Cove chuckled at the thought. A small beeping noise came from Cove's pant pocket, and he pulled it out and glanced at the screen.
Huh?
It's the organizers. They've sent a text to the group. Time to call it a day here. Oh, cool. Cove tucked his cell away, eagerly turning to you. Let's head over and drop off the trash bags at the trucks. Then we can drive back and join the ticket team. We've got to be there pretty soon to relieve them. You're an amazing YouTuber, Kuro. Well, God bless you. With a stretch of shore this long, the plan was to switch places with the other team who had been pushing the tickets for the fundraising dinner halfway through. It would be a full day's work, but it was Orca's largest event of the year, and all hands were on deck to make sure it was a success. You ran off? Why are we running off? Alright, I'll push his back. Time to go. He resisted, leaning his weight against your hands and digging his feet in the sand. With a burst of laughter, you pulled away quickly, and he almost fell backwards into the sand.
Hey!
He joined with laughter while stumbling to catch himself. God, I love you so much. You collected the trash bags spread along the way together, heading across the beach to hoist them into the trucks before heading off to the next job. Cove slipped his warm hands into yours and intertwined your fingers, strolling back to the cars side by side. The drive back to your neighborhood and making your way to the shopping street was fairly quick, though Cove stressed a little about being late. Luckily, he was able to find a parking spot nice and close to where you needed to be. You jumped out of the car and quickly went towards where you knew the group would be. Finally reaching the stall that was set up to sell tickets, you stopped for a moment to catch your breath. That was quite the flurry of activity. It would be your job for the rest of the afternoon to help sell tickets for the fundraising events. For the fundraising dinner, and looking around the street, you saw that there were plenty of potential buyers out today. Orca case reminding you of Shamu. Isn't Shamu dead? That would hopefully help to move the tickets along. The stall itself is simple, a portable table with a few plush sea animals as decorations and a banner stuck across the front. There were 2 volunteers who were already packing up and getting ready to head off to the beach. They gave both of you a friendly smile as you arrived. Hey Cove, Joseph, how'd things go at the beach?
Not bad.
It was good. The place is looking great. We're lucky to get a 2-for-1 when it comes to you guys. Cove cleared his throat awkwardly from beside you, and you noticed his cheeks flushing pink. Here we go again. You laughed it off. That's right. That's us. Their teasing rubbed you the wrong way. Hey, this is discrimination. That's right. That's us. We're joined at the hips, some might say. Oh my god, would I be that annoying if I had a boyfriend? Oh god. The volunteers chuckled and packed up the last of their stuff, and Cove seemed to relax a little more. The volunteers made room for you and Cove behind the table while they circled around to the front of it. In your playthrough, you actually did push him? What do you mean you did push him? Like you pushed him over and he fell down? I pushed him too. Oops, I skipped a line. Thanks for coming in for a shift. We'd better make this quick so you can head off to the next place. No problem. What do you need us to do? Like when you choose to push him towards the beach? What? You nodded and gave a small smile to show that you were listening. One of the volunteers handed you a clipboard with all the details you needed to sell tickets, while the other tossed a set of keys to Cove, which he caught with ease. I would be that annoying? Thank you. These are for the money box and supply kit. Make sure to keep them on you at all times. I'm sorry that they have the same voice. Aside from handling the cash for tickets, there's also a form with a clipboard for the guests to fill in their info. That way we know how many tickets we've sold and who will be attending the event. In my head, they're just two volunteers that are twins, so they have the same voice. There's a small script beneath that if you get stuck for what to say, and that's about pretty much it. Simple, huh?
Uh-huh.
What is my clock going off for? I think we've got this. Satisfied that you knew what you were doing, the volunteers said their goodbyes and started walking away, leaving you and Cove to manage the stall alone. The keys jingled in his hands as Cove waved them off, before he stuffed them into the pocket of his pants for safekeeping. Aren't we getting paid? This is a charity event. No, we're not getting paid. They're twins, that's why they have the same name? Exactly. We'll bring in a lot of money. Have fun at the beach. Once the volunteers were out of sight, Cove dropped down. What is my cat doing? Dropped down into a chair behind the counter with a sigh. We've made it here just in time. It's cool. We traded places with nothing happening. They might have been late getting to cleanup duty. He leaned back in his seat, getting fully comfortable in the space, and gave you a small smile. You took the other seat. You stayed standing. I'll take the other seat, I guess. I'm not standing. It was just a simple plastic chair that squeaked when you sat on it, but it gave you a good view of the street. We got things under control. I was stressed, things would go wrong. Glad this let us rest in one place. You turned his smile. Things could still go wrong. Am I gonna be that negative? I'm gonna be that negative hoe. I'm just glad we can sit down. Yeah, I really needed to get off my feet for 5 seconds. Oh, you mentioned your feet again. Is that... Are you trying to... Are you trying to... get me all hot and bothered? Imagine if I was this disgusting with my boyfriend. If I had one. Go rummaged around the station a little, picking up a stuffed toy orca and holding it up in front of his face. You had to admit that it was pretty cute with its big bulging eyes and oversized flippers. Setting it back down on the top of the table, Cove moved on to check out the rest of the stall, finding a cooler stashed beneath the table. When he pulled it out and opened the lid, you could see that it was filled with half-melted ice cubes and about half a dozen bottles of water. Cove dropping hints. Maybe he is dropping hints. Oh no. Grabbing one of the plastic bottles, he unscrewed the cap and took a long drink. You watched the condensation running along the side and onto his fingers.
So?
Do you want one? I want some of you. Cove set his water on his side of the table before pulling out another, holding it towards you. I brought my own. You accepted the water bottle. Thanks. After opening it up, you took a drink and let out a satisfied sigh. You didn't realize how thirsty you had been, and it was always good to stay hydrated. Something tells you Cove has big-ass feet. The two of you got settled in easily, and you took the chance to look over the paperwork on the clipboard. Cove joined you, leaning over your shoulder to get a better look. Seems like pretty standard stuff. He muttered and you nodded quietly. It had general info about the event and work you needed to do at the stall, as well as the amount of tickets sold thus far and the number remaining. Cove tapped a finger on the counter as he read quietly over the notes, muttering a few things now and then that you didn't fully hear. He knows you have a... I do not have one, how dare you? He seemed content to be there, and you were sure that the afternoon had passed by quickly. Did I already read that? When he glanced out towards the crowd and made a small sound, you followed his line of sight to see that a potential supporter was on their way over to the booth. Psyched yourself up, tried to relax. Customer service? You wish. This is gonna be a pain. This is gonna be a pain. You grumbled to yourself and let out a small groan, trying not to let anyone overhear. Time passed as the two of you manned the stall, and as people approached, your sales pitch would either have them asking for a ticket, or two, or heading off and mumbling maybe next time. Kuro, virtual hug. Aww. Virtual hug right back at you. With my cat, stop this. All in all, you managed to sell a decent amount of tickets, and you could tell that Cove was happy with the outcome. As the afternoon drifted along, 6 p.m. arrived. Time to pack everything up and head home for the evening. Your work with Orca was far from over, but right now there was only one thing left to do. Focus on attending the actual events. The days continued in a normal flow, and before long, the night of the Orca fundraising dinner was upon you. It was early evening, and you were in your room getting ready as the minutes ticked closer and closer towards the time you needed to leave. You wanted some privacy. Liz was helping you pick out an outfit. Alright, Liz was helping us get ready while Ko was on speakerphone. You are currently in the midst of picking out an outfit, which Liz was helping you with, while Ko gave his input from the phone. Of course, Cove couldn't see any of the items you and Liz were choosing between, but he was trying to help all the same. The event had strict guidelines, and you wouldn't be let in unless you were dressed to code, but that meant having to find a truly professional outfit, but one that you were also happy with. Gay. You were happy to have the chance to dress. You want to be practical. You weren't happy. Fancy clothes were always stuffy, uncomfortable, and just totally unnecessary. Your lips puckered into a frown as you rifled through the options with a tired sigh.
I know.
I know the dress code isn't great, but I know you can make it work. Somehow. Liz chuckled at the look on your face, which was anything but pleasant. I'm telling you this nicely as your older sister and all. Suck it up! This event is the real deal! You're gonna look amazing for one night, and then you can come back and run around in your birthday suit for all we care. No. People would care if you did that. Please don't. Oh, I bet you'd like it, Cole Holden. I never thought I'd see a day when Cole Holden encouraged me to wear something formal. A quiet chuckle came from your phone, and you smiled at the sound. Yeah, this is really a once-in-a-lifetime event. I mean, is it once in a lifetime? I mean, it's an event, but is it once in a lifetime, girl? Taking a deep breath to it's like once a month. Taking a deep breath to refocus yourself, you looked over the options one last time. It was time to decide on an outfit, and quick. Imagine if I just chose a dress. Like, imagine I've just been presenting as a male my entire life. I was born male, and that's what I've identified as, but then I just randomly show up to the event in a dress. What is Cove gonna say to me? What, is this gonna cause a stink? Is this people gonna dislike this? Whatever. Well, we have to choose, our shirt and pants. I don't know if people would be too accepting to me. And my gender fluid belief that clothing has no gender. Liz nodded in approval, clapping her hands together satisfied.
Good.
Finally, we're making some progress. That sounds like it'd be totally fine. I'm wearing the same type of thing. Standing in front of your mirror, you quietly assessed your outfit. I mean, is a suggestion that I have skirts in my closet that I could put on if I desired? Because that's kind of suggested by the option to put it on. We can add accessories, maybe. You need a little something extra to finish it all off. Rummaging through the rest of your wardrobe, you picked out what you needed to complete your outfit. An anklet? Oh, we know that'll get Ko's engine revving. You had to quickly remove your shoes to slip on an anklet before stepping back into them again. A ring, a belt, a pair of earrings, a watch, bracelets. I'll wear a shawl. What is a shawl? Is it something ostentatious? Oh, that's ostentatious. I was gonna put on a pair of earrings, but a shawl, the girl, that's so ostentatious. Just in case it got cold during the evening, you need a shawl to drape over your shoulders. And then I guess we can wear a pair of earrings. Ugh, God, I'm gonna be looking like such a mess. You hurried to put on a pair of earrings to match your outfit, aware that time was running short. Alright, that was everything. And with that, you decided to apply makeup. Should we wear some makeup? Liz, can you put on some makeup for me? Just something to cover up the massive zits on my face, please. Leaning up in front of the mirror again, you spoke over your shoulder. Do you think you could help me with some makeup for tonight? Absolutely. I'll show you everything I know. You're welcome for that. Thank you. With that, Liz really got into gear. She worked deftly to apply all the details without holding you up too long, all while keeping you informed on what was happening to your face. Finally, you were dressed. It had all come together. I hope I'm not wearing lipstick. I hope she didn't smear some lipstick on me. Okay, just gotta change my shirt and I'll be at the car. See you in a minute. When you looked at Liz again, she had a goofy smile pulling at her lips. You look very nice, Joseph. Thanks, yeah, I guess looking good isn't really what I'm concerned about. Now you're talking like our moms. Her eyebrows dipped at the statement and she smirked with her arms folded. Don't look at me like that, I know you're sucking the life out of them. They did raise me. She had a point there. Liz wiped a pretend tear away with her finger and sniffed dramatically. Oh, precious Joseph, you're really all grown up. It happened in the blink of an eye when I wasn't even looking. Now you're really starting to sound like our parents. She chuckled to herself, nudging you towards the door.
All right.
All right, time to get downstairs. Your very official, though still kind of a baby, boyfriend awaits. He's not a baby. He's a man. He's a man, Elizabeth. You carefully headed down the stairs into the living room where your moms were waiting for your appearance. As you entered, they both stood from the couch and came over to you, smiling broadly. You look so wonderful, Joseph.
Nice.
And very mature, too.
Mm-hmm.
I know, right? They continued to coo and fuss over you until you managed to brush them off. Ma took Mom by the arm and held her close. The two of them were admiring you proudly. You enjoyed the attention. I already got this from Liz. You sighed dramatically. You were going to be running late if you didn't get going. Liz came over to you and smirked as if she were reading the very thoughts in your head. You'll have to get used to this one day, Joseph. You're the baby of the family after all. Forever. Ma came in to give you one last hug, and before you knew it, another pair of arms was wrapped around you, and then a third. Both Mom and Liz giggled as they hugged you tight. We hope you have so much fun tonight.
Have fun.
We won't wait up for you. Stay out as long as you need. You're old enough now. With a last wave goodbye, you left your family and approached the front door. It was time. Stepping out into the night, you closed the door behind you gently and looked across the street. Aw, my baby. My lovely baby. Cove was oh my god, I just said he wasn't a baby. Cove was standing there in the street. His eyes met yours immediately, as if he had been watching your house for the moment you would come out. He smiled bashfully. Hey, Joseph. Hey, stranger, I barely recognize you. You took the chance to check over his outfit as he walked across the way to meet you. It was formal for sure, though it didn't feel overly posh. It made sense for him, and honestly, a sight for sore eyes. He was always beautiful to you. With a growing smile, he stepped closer, his cheeks reddening all the way down to his neck.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming with me, and for dressing really nicely for this. Your outfit, it's just perfect. You like my shawl? You like these bling bling earrings? You like my makeup? You like the anklet? Let me just lift up my pant leg. You like the anklet? Is that turning you on? His gaze traveled downwards to take in your full form. Oh god, don't look at my stomach, my protruding stomach in this shirt. He leaned in only inches away from your face to whisper in your ear, his warm breath tickling your skin. I like the ankle bracelet. Oh, I knew it'd turn you on, you filthy slut. You filthy ankle bracelet slut. God, I want to spit in your mouth right now. Your cheeks went hot and you bit down on your lip to keep from smiling too much. I wore it for you. I thought you might appreciate it, and it's a special night. He smiled at you softly, the corner of his eyes crinkling as he brought his face even closer to the point where the tips of your noses were touching.
Bye,
Purple Toaster. You're always too nice to me. He raised a hand and lightly trailed his fingers down your side, his touch tingling your skin through the fabric of your shirt. You started to wonder if it was a good idea after all. Cove acting like that was killing you, and you hadn't even started the trip to the dinner yet. It took a great amount of effort to focus your thoughts and react to his overall assessment to your look. Let's see. You're so hot right now. Cove hung his bright red face in embarrassment. After that, he wrapped his arms around his torso bashfully as if trying to protect himself and outfit from further teasing. Girl, I've already watched Game Boys. It was amazing and I loved it. Come on, Joseph. You laughed at the reaction. Then he shook his head, glanced back towards the garage, throwing a thumb over his shoulder, spoke.
come on.
We should probably get going. Wouldn't want to be late to such a grown-up event, right? Yeah, let's go. You headed over to Cove's car together, hopping in and strapping on your seatbelts. You were on your way. The event was being held at a place you had never been to before. You brought up the location on your phone to help Cove navigate there. It took some time to find the right address, and once you were there, met with the task. You were met with the task of finding a parking spot. Though you were on time, it seemed like everyone else had already showed up and claimed the spaces. You want to know if Kuro plays Genshin? What? I've already said I played Genshin before. Eventually you found a suitable place before realizing that it required payment. Cove covered the amount, taking a ticket from the machine and leaving it on the dashboard of the car. Despite the small holdup, you managed to ultimately make it to the event and confirm you were on the guest list before being shown into the dining area. Cove whistled low as he looked around, taking in the extravagance of the room. Chandeliers hung from the ceilings, and the entire place was decked out with beautiful oceanic displays. You were stunned yourself. It was extremely high class, even more so than you had already expected. This is the best looking event. It's way too frilly. It's overdone. It's so overdone. From the lights and the crystals to the massive stage at the other end of the large room, this event had overkill written all over it. The sound of your names being called out echoed over the din in the room. When you looked around, you recognized a couple of organization leaders looking your way. They approached you both in greeting, giving you a welcoming smile and a hello. Not only do you work for free, but you also have to pay? Get out of town. Get out of town. Alright, let me just take a little drink of water. Love the negative Nancy vibes. Alright. So negative, it's pretty good. Just call me out. Alright. Cove, Joseph, we're glad to see you could make it, especially after all the hard work you've done to help make this night happen.
Of course.
Definitely, I wasn't gonna miss it. You say that as if we had a choice. I'm not joking. You grinned as the leaders laughed at the jest, and even Cove smirked from beside you. Also, these guys are twins as well. Well, thank you for being part of the team. You're our best power couple. Okay, I guess. Calling us a power couple. You're our best power couple, that's for sure. You're always welcome to participate in more activities when they come up. Cove let out an awkward, breathy laugh and rubbed at the back of his neck. Me and the boyfriend would be happy to. Cove shrugged, then eyes darting around the place with an awkward look.
So...
I guess we should talk to more people. There isn't much to do at an event like this. You found your way into groups of people who were standing around chatting while some light music played in the background. Servers with large silver trays were gliding between guests, offering drinks and canapes. Cove approached various people as you wound your way through the guests. He managed broaching new conversations as well. You were enjoying talking to so many different people, both guests and members of the organization alike, and found yourself enjoying the company. The sound of a microphone crackling came from the podium at the other end of the room. Not them laughing. Not them laughing at my negativity. The sound of the microphone crackling came from the podium at the other end of the room. They're giving you fundraiser misappropriating vibes. Oh my gosh. Someone who you assumed must be the host for the event was asking everyone to sit down in preparation for the meal and speeches. You and Cove looked for your table, finding it easily enough by the little name cards that were placed delicately beside the napkins. A few others joined you at the table, though they weren't really anyone that you recognized. The host was still speaking as people were settling, starting off the speeches by giving a welcome to everyone attending. She went on to provide some more information about Orca, which you suppose was for the guests who weren't a part of the organization and the purpose of the fundraiser tonight. Orca's goals, as she explained it, were to aid in the conservation and restoration of oceans and beaches. There were many people who had helped to make the group a success as it was. When she read off the list of several volunteers who worked on making the event happen, Cove's name was one of the first to come up. His chest puffed out in pride at that. Your name then came up a little further down the list. You were smiling from ear to ear at the mention. How dare they break us up? How dare they break us up in that, in calling out our names together? It's enough that they charge $100 a ticket? They charge $100 a ticket? Is that what they said? I don't remember a price being mentioned, but maybe that's what they said. As she continued on to thank the large donors for the event, you checked over at Cove. He was still grinning happily to himself and tapping his fingers over the tops of his knees, pretty pleased to have been mentioned by name. You laughed quietly, you rolled your eyes, you were excited for him, you could relate to that feeling. You tried to keep focused on the speech. What did we try to do? You were excited for him. I'm excited for him, always. He had worked hard to make this event happen. It was the least he deserved. While the host continued speaking, multiple servers dressed in black were setting the first course of the menu in front of guests. One of the servers set down a plate in front of you, and you thanked them quietly before looking over the dish with interest. You recognized the dish as a simple Caesar salad. The host quickly wrapped up the end of her speech, thanking everyone once more before inviting you all to begin your meal. I want real food, not a salad. Anyone who had included a special dietary note when signing up for the event received a vegan or vegetarian version, and there were also small baskets of bread set around the table. Is Cove vegan? I don't remember him being vegan. Was he vegan? No, he wasn't vegan. He wasn't. Was he? You ate both the salad and the bread. I mean, girl, I'll have it. I'm fat. I'll enjoy it all. Cove wolfed down his salad before munching into a breadstick, quickly devouring that as well. I hope the next part comes out soon, and is bigger. You could hear him mumbling to himself as he reached over for another piece of bread. He glanced around the table, and you followed his line of sight with curiosity, noting that everyone else was still eating the salad. Stopping his hands midair, he quickly pulled back and rested it on his lap, without taking another breadstick after all. Let's see... It was clear that he was starting to feel unsure of himself, and he looked a little out of place here. He folded his arms and turned away from them to you. Hey, how did you like the salad? It was good, too small, alright, pretty bad. You simply shrugged. It was alright. I've had better. His gaze remained purposely tunneled on you, as if he were trying not to think about what the rest of the table might be doing. You gave Cove a pat on the head, you made silly faces at other guests while they weren't looking, you picked up a breadstick and gave it to Cove. I picked up a breadstick and quietly gave it to Cove. It's okay. Oh, thank you. Cove spoke gently as he took the breadstick from your hand, looking choked up by your reassurance. He munched away on it happily, seeming much more at ease. It wasn't much longer until the main course was arriving, and the various chicken, steak, and veggie dishes were being served throughout the room. An array of scents wafted through the room, making your mouth water. You went with the vegan meal. You went with the vegetarian meal. Oh girl, I don't have a choice? I can't eat meat? What is this? Why can't I eat... What? Huh? Oh, is this because I said I was a pescatarian? Oh no, this is because I said I was a pescatarian a while back. There was a choice a while back in this game, and it was like, what are your dietary restrictions? And I was like, I'm a pescatarian. And, I mean, yeah, sure, but... I mean, if we're at an event and, you know, there's not anything else to eat, like, I'll eat the chicken. Like, I'll do it. I'm a poyotarian for, like, one day, then I go back to being a pescatarian, okay? Like, do you mind? I'll go with the vegetarian meal, I guess. You had opted for the vegetarian dish, and the meal that was set in front of you looked so delicious that you couldn't wait to tuck in. They don't serve fish at Orca meetings. Why not? Why not? Serve some fishies. I see some in that tank. Grill them up. Grill them up. Like, grill them up. Damn, they don't serve fish at Orca meetings. You had opted for the vegetarian dish. I already read that. Cove had gone for the steak, and once he started to dig in, he was completely absorbed by his meal. I mean, are we not saving the ocean so we can continue to, like, have the delicious food that's stored within it? Like, because that's why I'm saving the ocean. I just want more fishies to eat. You're gonna choke if you keep inhaling your food like that. You kicked him under the table teasingly. You put a hand on his thigh under the table. Yes? It's not like they're serving shark. I heard shark is good. Why can't we eat shark? Okay, let's put our hand on his thigh. You couldn't resist a little teasing while he was distracted. Your arm reached forward out of view of everyone else, hidden by the heavy tablecloth. You let your fingers lay to rest on the center nearest his thigh? Girl, what are we doing during a fancy dinner? What are we doing? What are we doing? Cove. I can't control myself, Cove, when I'm around you. Now let me unzip those pants and give you a good time. Cove stopped eating immediately, his elbows banging against the top of the table in shock as his face slowly turned red. Aren't they endangered? Do we need sharks, though? Like, do we need sharks? Does anyone care if sharks go extinct? Like, I don't. Like, I don't think they're important. Like, I don't think... They're not bees, you know? It's not like they're bees and we need them to survive. The tableware next to him rattled from the impact. When it settled down, he spoke creakily, without moving to face you directly. Look at me, Cove. Look at me as I touch you and violate you in front of these strangers. Yes? Nothing. Is something the matter? His flustered frown deepened.
That's...
Joseph, you should probably... Cove's voice trailed off quietly. You got the impression he was asking you to stop, but he didn't really want you to, because he also wants it. Ooh, he wants it. They're ancient creatures? Girl, who cares? Who cares? Who cares if they're ancient? Maybe that just means their time is up, if they're ancient. You kept your hand where it was for a little longer, giving his leg a gentle squeeze until he cleared his throat and leaned in closer to you. You probably, shouldn't keep doing that right now. Fine. It was a shame it had to end, but you were content with how long he had let you keep your hand where it was. When you returned your hand to your own lap, Cove let out a small sigh of relief and continued eating again, though at a slower pace as he was still distracted from the event. Dinner eventually ended, and last of all was dessert, a lemon sorbet that had been partially dyed blue. Cove is asking for it? I know, he is! It's like, you can't blush like that when I do it to you and then be like, please stop. It's like, you're asking me to continue. The mix of white with bold streaks of blue made the little scoop look like a ball of roaring ocean waves. The effect was very pretty, but the serving size was small. Perhaps it was the price to pay for artistry. You turned to Cove to find him pouting a little at the size of it. Can I give him mine? I have to watch my figure anyway, because I'm a fatty, so he can just take it. Digging into the dessert, it only took him a few bites to polish it off. Again, the other people around him, around the table, had barely begun eating. We gotta see Cove's bulge. Yes. Yes. An unimpressed air settled over him as he sat back in his chair, sipping his water unhappily. Poor Cove would come from the touch and be too visible on his black pants. Good, I want to get embarrassed in front of this whole charity event. He can wear my shawl over his pants. He can just tie it around his waist. You should appreciate what you got. You left his mouth. You're such a big baby. We can get more dessert later. Why can't I give him mine? I would give him mine if I was actually there, you know? If I was actually dating him, I just, like, here, you can have mine. We can get more dessert later. You gave him an encouraging smile. He looked over at you sheepishly, embarrassed to have been caught sulking over such a thing. He fumbled for a defense.
I mean...
It was just really good, that's all. And now it's gone, but I'm okay. With a slight grin, he shrugged to show that he was really fine. Oh, there we go. Do you want my dessert? You pushed the dish towards him, and his eyes widened in surprise. He looked down at the dessert and then back at you, as if wordlessly asking if you were really sure. It's okay, you can have it. He hesitated for a moment before pulling the sorbet in front of him, a small smile tugging at his lips. But now you gotta do something for me. Pop off your shoes right now. I'm gonna pretend to drop my fork under the table, and then I'm gonna have a little fun down there.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joseph. You're welcome. He scooped up a spoonful of the treat and put it in his mouth, humming happily. You felt satisfied, knowing he'd enjoyed it much more than you would. You leaned back in your chair, looking around quietly. After a moment or two, you felt Cove giving you a sidelong glance. Huh? He then took another spoonful of the faux ocean and held it out for you. Your stomach began to flutter, and not from the prospect of sorbet. You ate the sorbet. Oh, baby, feeding me. Where's my mouse? Leaning forward, you ate the dessert off his spoon, enjoying the bright, citrusy taste on your tongue. It's good. Yeah. You thought back on the way he used to be so terrified of sharing food with you, and now he hardly batted an eye. It was always amazing when you were struck with how he'd grown and how he's stayed the same. Another person from Orca got up on stage to make a speech as everyone was nearing the end of their meal. They spoke mostly about the individual projects that the organization was working on and their plans for the near future, as well as encouraging anyone who was interested in considering to volunteer. Cove bent forward over the table with his chin balanced on a hand, listening attentively to the words. I don't even need to respond to that, Makahadama. Okay. Yeah. As they came to a conclusion and everyone gave them a round of applause, Cove caught your eye and smiled. You wondered what would happen now. And then the lights dimmed. A couple of spotlights came on, projecting a water light effect around the room. The guests gushed over the ambiance, and you looked around with wide eyes at the ripples on the walls. The DJ that had previously been playing some soft mood music in the background announced that the floor was open for dancing, slowly turning the volume up so it drifted through the space. When you glanced at Cove, his eyebrows shot up and he mumbled quietly.
Huh.
I didn't know there would be dancing. I guess it makes sense now that I think about it. He gave an awkward laugh as you both watched as people rose from their seats. It was clear now that many of the donors were couples. A small crowd had started to form on the dance floor, and the DJ played a romantic song to get everyone started off. Cove let his gaze float over the small sea of guests who were moving onto the floor, his hands twisting in his lap as his lips pulled into a tight line. And then, with a breath and the lift of his hand, he turned to you.
Well...
Wanna dance with me? Of course I do. His face lit up. You could tell even beneath the dim light. Accepting Cove's outstretched hand, you rose from your seats together and stepped out onto the floor. When you had found a spot for yourselves amongst the other guests, you turned and faced him, standing close. Cove gave you a small smile as you looked up at him. He seemed a little nervous. I don't know how to dance. I don't know how to dance. Not for real. He admitted with a slight squeeze to your hand and a sheepish look. You gave him a reassuring grin and nudged a little closer to him still. It's okay, I know. With a familiar face full of affection, he let go of you and raised his arms to slide both of his hands behind your back. You wrapped your arms around him in response. Together, you gently swayed to the music, moving your feet in time to the delicate beat. It was nice just being here like this, in each other's arms. You didn't have to worry about whether you knew the right steps or not. There was always a way to make it work between the two of you. Cove leaned his head in near to yours, his forehead so close to yours that they almost touched. His breath was warm as he let out a contented sigh, tickling your skin. You really do look so good tonight. You're such a gorgeous guy. You clean up pretty well yourself. He chuckled softly as you took a second to admire him, running your eyes down the front of his chest. You had a nice time. I hoped you did. I came here with you, so yeah. Or should we let's just lean in and kiss him. Oops. His eyelids fluttered closed as your lips met in a soft kiss. When he pulled back, he smiled at you gently. His bright eyes stayed locked on yours, studying you with unmistakable adoration. Thank you for staying. You're still here, just like you promised you would be. Your heart felt light as you continued to sway whilst holding your most beloved person. So glad to be able to share a moment like this with him. His smile suddenly tilted unexpectedly. You couldn't guess the thought that crossed over his face. Hey, Joseph. Yes? His voice a gentle whisper. He let you in on his small secret. You know, I like to complain about things and that other people can stress me out, but
It's nice.
coming here with you tonight didn't make me feel bad. Not even a little. Your lips parted at the words, old memories rushing back to the surface of your mind. Those of your very first formal party together, the summer soiree at the country club. In an instant, you were 13 years old again, sitting on a grassy hill on a dark golf course with your neighbor. It was an experience you could never forget, where it felt as though there was no one else in the world, and where he made you feel like there was no one else in the world he wanted to be with more. That was the night Cove tried so hard to enjoy with you, but had been plagued by his anxieties despite it all. And now... Let's see... You began to tear up happily. Sniffing quietly, you gave him a watery smile, fearing you would choke up with emotion if you tried to speak. Cove's hand caressed the back of your neck, making you feel truly treasured. Even though I still get like that sometimes, when there's other stuff in our lives that's too much for me to deal with. But being with you, that's not one of those things. You make it so easy to do. You make me happy. More than happy. When I'm with you, I feel safe. His voice wavered ever so slightly, his feelings getting the best of him. I want more than anything to be able to do that with you. He broke on the last word, tears glistening in the corners of his eyes. You wiped away his tears. His skin was warm as you gently brushed your fingers beneath his eyes and smiled at him softly. A lot has happened, huh? You nodded faintly. You weren't sure if he just meant today, this summer, or your entire time knowing each other. But it didn't really matter. It was true either way. Thinking back on the years that you and Cove had been neighbors, it was difficult to even try to reflect on it all at once.
I'm so glad.
I'm glad we ended up here. He gave you a soft look and you beamed, knowing that it could also mean many things. But from his tone, you were certain that he didn't only mean here, this event. It was more than that. Let's see... I think we have to tell your dad thanks. Probably. You loved him. Fully and completely you did. His smile widened and he pressed his body against yours, resting his head into the crook of your neck, stroking the back of your head with his fingers. You tightened your grip on him and let your head fall against his shoulder. As the night drifted on, you held each other tight, swaying to the music as if you were the only ones in the room. Cove was sweet the entire time, his warmth brushing against your skin as he whispered words of affection in your ear. He was extremely good at making you feel special. You couldn't have hidden your blissful smile even if you wanted to. The party eventually started to wind down, and at last it came to an end. With the main lights turned on, you blinked against the brightness of them, making sure you had Cove in your sights. You wished you could have this, girl. We all wish we could have this, but I will never have this. Some of you might have this. I'll never have this. One final speaker came up to the podium on the stage, thanking all the guests for coming and wishing everyone a good night. It was bittersweet to see it come to a close. Your time with Cove here was precious. At least the memories could be brought with you. Giving the space one more look, you walked together with Cove out to the parking lot. The other guests were doing the same, so you got stuck in a bit of a crowd. Though Cove was so tall you could always see him, and it was easy enough not to get separated. The parking lot was itself quite big, and even more noticeable with fewer cars blocking the view. It took a little while to actually locate Cove's car across its expanse. Eventually you found it, and the two of you bundled inside the vehicle and buckled up. The trip home was quiet, as you both silently reflected back on the experience. The event had just been the biggest night of the year for Orca, and now it was all over just like that. Outside your window, the surroundings soon became familiar, and you found yourselves back in your neighborhood. Cove pulled his car into his driveway and put it in park before letting out a relieved breath. Home sweet home. Yeah. After climbing out of the car, you walk slowly down the road, Cove coming over to stand beside you. You stopped in the middle of the street, right between your house and his, and turned to him, finding him in the process of opening his mouth to speak. Strangely, he clamped his lips together as though he had suddenly thought better of it. This is kind of awkward. What? What? Honey, what? Thank you for taking me tonight. Thanks for coming with me. Let's see. Yeah, we gotta give him the kiss. Needing to be close again before the night ended, you pressed your lips against his in a gentle squeeze. I don't want the night to end. He smiled as you separated, running his fingers over the side of your face.
Night.
Night, Joseph. With a last wispy smile, he left towards his front door. Figuring you shouldn't linger in the street for much longer, you crossed the remainder of the road and did the same. When you reached your house, you pulled out your keys and stuck them in the door, trying your best to be silent about it. Opening the door a crack, you turned back and looked at Cove from over your shoulder. Your eyebrows lifted in surprise to see how he was doing the same, holding his front door open but waiting for you to go inside before he did. You shared an amused smile before you both stepped into your own houses, locking the door behind you. It was quite late, so everyone else was already asleep. As quiet as a mouse, you tiptoed up to your bedroom and changed out of your formal clothes into your pajamas. Now that you were finally home, you were exhausted. You brushed your teeth and got ready for bed in the darkness before crawling under the covers and letting out a heavy breath. It was strange to think, how that was it? The build-up to the event had felt like so much, and now was completely behind you. Your mind was busy with rapid yet muddled thoughts as you faded closer and closer to sleep. As unconsciousness creeped up on you, you felt more content. It was a big deal, but there would be more in the future. You could accept what it had been, and you could dream about what you'd get to experience next. And then you were taken away from the dreams, right back into reality by a sound. Your eyebrows pinched together, fully unprepared to be part of the waking world again. The day was over and had been an eventful one. But you heard another noise. It was a tapping. Your eyes flew open. The window. There was a tapping that came from your window. Cove Holden. You rushed over to him. You tumbled out of bed, taking your blanket with you. You left it on the floor when you scampered over to the window. You saw through the glass that Cove's eyebrows were raised, and you suddenly realized that in your rush you hadn't taken care to be quiet. He had probably heard you crash to the floor. That wasn't the matter at hand. You flung your window open, faced him completely with nothing separating the two of you any longer. You'd not been surprised to find Cove awkwardly crouched on your window ledge. However, you were taken aback to see that he was a little overdressed. Cove hadn't changed out of his formal clothes. You also noticed that he was perched clumsily. You didn't know if it was because he was trying to keep his fancy clothes clean, or if he felt weird about something. His body was too stiff and awkward. Cove smiled sheepishly. Hi, Joseph. It's nice to see you, Romeo. You moved aside and let him climb inside. He cautiously stepped down by stretching his legs over. Strangely, he didn't use his hands for support. It was clear to you now he was holding something. When he was safely on his feet, he briefly checked out his clothes, twisting around to see the back of his pants, and he caught you looking and shrugged.
I mean...
I did go home after the event, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to settle down, so I just walked back out. I needed fresh air and time away from everything. He paused for a moment and raised his clasped hands together where you could see them. Something was stiff, alright, girl, you know it. But then something happened. And, well, so I have something I want to show you. Cove grinned like a child and gently unfurled his fingers, not being able to keep you in suspense for even a minute. Carefully sitting inside was a tiny yellow light. It blinked off and then on again. A firefly. Delicately, he moved his hand closer so you could see the creature better. They're back. He closed his eyes, his smile now faintly illuminated by the insect companion. Honestly, I didn't think I'd see them this year. I don't know why. It's just, they were kind of late and I guess I've been worrying about a lot of stuff lately. You could tell that the firefly was genuinely lifted by his spirits. He seemed at peace, and he wanted to share that with you. The fact that his first thought after discovering the fireflies was to come over and celebrate the joy with you made you suddenly feel very cherished. Cove opened his eyes, but he looked away, not meeting yours.
It's nice.
It's really nice, I think. Even if all the fireflies disappear for a while, it doesn't mean they're really gone. They'll come back. I can see them again. You smiled. And then you looked at the firefly keenly. There was definitely something poetic about them. You felt a warmth in your heart. Cove looked at your face, his smile now fragile. It makes me think about the two of us. We're together. Then we say goodbye, and we're together again, day after day, year after year, and even if our time apart gets longer, that doesn't make it forever.
Joseph.
Joseph, I'll always be there, whenever you want to see me. There's nothing else you could think, and he needed to know you were so in love. Your heart started to pound in your ears, and all you could hear was blood rushing. You looked at Cove and found yourself fixated. The only thing you were aware of was your rapid pulse and him. It was as if your entire relationship was playing over in your mind, every step that led you here. From the first time you met, back when you were just little kids with no interest in your parents' attempts to make you friends, to how you ended up growing closer despite that. To the first time you saw fireflies together, to the first time you snuck in your room, and then to every other moment you shared, all of it came back to you. Cove's expression had turned curious as you left him waiting. Wordless, he tilted his head in a question. His lips parted to speak, but you went first. I'm in love with you. Oh, I'm in love with you. With your confession, the world stopped for a second. Cove froze. Then, as if your words turned a faucet, tears began to fall down Cove's cheeks. He silently mouthed something, but you couldn't make out a word. Cove, you stepped closer, removing the distance between the two of you. He covered his mouth with a hand. He must have forgotten about the firefly resting there. And it flew off into the night with a twinkle. He used his other hand to shakily reach over and interlaced his fingers with yours. He gripped you tightly. You cried with him. Tears streamed down your face, and he looked a little alarmed when you started crying into his shoulder. I love you, Cove. Cove removed the hand from his mouth, and used it to hold the back of your head. He brought your face to him, bending his neck to be closer to your level, and your foreheads brushed together. His voice trembled, it cracked and it shook. This was raw, straight from Cove's heart. I love you. He closed his eyes tightly and repeated himself, but now he could say it firmly. I love you. His aqua eyes sparkled when he opened them again. Fresh tears poured out with an outburst of emotion.
Sorry?
Joseph, I'm sorry. I can't get it together. It's just, I tried so much to love you quietly, secretly, and that being it. But I really wanted you to feel the same. I wanted you to love me back. I wanted to hear you say it. I just kept thinking, what if you didn't? Maybe what I felt was too much and I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't know what to do. But I didn't want to put any of that on you either. You weren't doing something bad. Everything you do is right and wonderful.
I'm always like this.
It wasn't your fault I had to be like that. I'm just like that. He leaned in closer, hiding his face from view. His lips trailing over to your ear, he whispered, "But you love me. You love me." He moved his head back so his forehead was centered on yours, and then he closed his eyes. He shook. The hand you still held was trembling. I'm so sorry. I'm really always like this. You kissed him. You pulled him into you, kissing his lips. He returned it desperately. Cove managed to bring a fragile smile onto his face. He was still shaking, but there was something decided about him now. I love you, Joseph. I love you. He repeated it more as if to make up for all the times he didn't let himself say it before. As he spoke, his tears dried up and his breathing became more even. The reaffirmation helped him calm down. Thank you for telling me. Cove's smile was bolder, even as his voice wavered, and he ducked his head with a childish shyness. He clearly fought against getting emotional again. His watery eyes, his mussed hair, his tears still drying out in his cheeks. You loved him so much. It was only the truth. I love you. Cove held the sides of your face but moved his thumb down to softly brush your lips. It was exciting. He wanted to keep touching you, and you wanted that too. You kissed his lips. Kissed all over his face. You moved your face over his cheek and gave it a nice smooch. You smiled and then planted another on the tip of his nose. You kissed across his forehead, moved on to gently brush your lips against his eyelids and then the corners of his mouth. He made a small please noises and wrapped his arms around your lower back. He pressed himself closer against you. You grabbed his butt. You slid your hand down his back. Sorry, I was typing a message. Skimming the muscle underneath. You could feel them tightening the lower you got. You paused at the base of his spine, fingers tapping with intention, but giving him time to voice disagreement with your course of action. He did quietly murmur something. It's okay. I don't mind. I mean, it's not just that. I want you to... He couldn't muster the last word, but still feeling validated, you let your hand cup his butt and squeezed it. Cove took a sharp breath. Joseph. His voice was laced with embarrassment, but not dissatisfaction. You whispered his name. Cove. You said it hushed, under your breath, and then brought your lips to his ear, and repeated yourself longingly. Cove. A shiver went through him, and his grip on you tightened. He had to with the way his knees almost buckled. How about I press him up against the wall? Then you stepped forward with purpose and pressed your hand against his shoulders. You kept walking. His eyes widened, but you let him lead. But he let you lead him, stepping back at the prompting. Cove squeaked when he made contact with the wall. You stared up into his flushed face. Cove's body was tense, being in such a position, but you knew with complete certainty that it wasn't in a bad way. You could feel one of his knees rubbing against the inside of your leg encouragingly. You moved your hand down his chest. You brought one hand to the nape of his neck while you ran the other along his chest. His shirt wrinkled, but neither of you cared. His body was firm to the touch. He kissed your ear long enough to heat it up, then down your jawline, letting the warmth spread while you touched him. You kissed his neck. You nuzzled up against him. You could hear his breathing pick up. You kissed across the exposed part of his neck. He made a quick gasp and it let out a long sigh. While you busied yourself over his neck, he reached down to stroke your thighs slowly. Then Cove carefully rested his hands on your shoulders and looked away. He took a few deep breaths as he kept you there. You could tell he was as worked up as he could manage for tonight. That was alright, you were feeling rather satisfied too. You smiled a little and tried to slow your own racing heart. You couldn't help thinking about how certain you were you want to spend the most time, and you told him as much. I hope we get to spend our whole lives together. Cove's expression crumbled again. He wasn't able to tamp down on the newest wave of emotion. His eyes watered once more, and he took a few heavy breaths.
I
hope so too. We could be together always. Have a place of our own. And kids? And pets? What do you think? His eyes widened at the picture you were painting. Cove seemed more than a little overwhelmed. Being a dad, the idea of it intimidated him. I'm sure you'd be a great father, Cove. Cove wasn't able to find the words. Instead, he squeezed his eyes shut and nodded resolutely. Your heart lifted. He was anxious, but he wanted a family with you. You felt warm being able to talk about this openly. You liked to imagine the life you could have together, and now you could do it with him. He rubbed at his scarred arm bashfully. You know, I thought having to grow up for real was gonna be so hard. I didn't know if I even could, but you... well, maybe it won't be that impossible.
So...
I mean, I better make sure it's not, huh? I'm looking forward to it. Finally, he was able to laugh softly. There were tears, nothing but salty remnants on his cheeks. He brightened up as if finally able to process the absolute joy of tonight in full. You felt good too. It took a little more time together to simply exist in the new dynamic you had stepped into. Cove looked into your eyes with a soft, slightly shy expression, and there was hope in his eyes. Do you want to go to the hill with me? I bet there's still fireflies. Let's go. Cove brightened. He was practically bouncing at the thought of his secret excursion before he suddenly became bashful.
So...
how should we leave? We could just try the door and we don't have to do the window thing. But maybe that'd bother your family. You both chuckled at how awkward it'd be if your moms, or worse Liz, saw you going on a midnight firefly catching trip. You'd be sure to avoid that. Let's just use the door, Cove. The door should be fine. My moms don't wake up from people in the living room as long as they're quiet. Cove nodded in understanding. You grabbed some shoes and readied yourself for an adventure. You were glad that there was no way you'd run into another soul outside. Cove would be way overdressed and you were still in your jammies. Creeping closer to your door for the trip out, Cove whispered one more question. Should I follow behind you? I outlined the optimal route to keep us away from our parents. Sure, we'll stay on the left side of the hall and then duck through the living room. And remember, don't step on the floor right by the bathroom. It squeaks. Right. The two of you huddled together next to your room. You quietly tiptoed down the stairs, wincing when your knee popped and then froze. Neither of you heard anything further, so you continued to the front door. You unlocked the door slowly and tried to minimize the click of the lock. You took a deep breath and then turned the knob. You let Cove out first and then snuck out into the brisk night air. It was surprisingly cool, but not all that unpleasant. Cove gave you an encouraging smile, but neither of you risked speaking yet. You briskly snuck behind the house and up to the old white poppy hill. And Cove was right there. The entire hill was lit up, insects twinkling here and there with pale yellow light. Cove let out a contented sigh, finally able to relax in full. He strode further up the hill to better enjoy the view. You walked along as well, letting yourself be surrounded by the twinkling display. Then without warning, Cove plopped onto his back. He paid no mind to smacking his formal attire in the grass. He put an arm under his head and stretched the rest of his limbs out. He was clearly getting quite comfortable in the dirt there. He sat down. You looked down and found a soft-looking spot to sit. You brushed some of the longer-looking grass aside and settled in. I wonder if Dad will be mad about the grass stains. He tugged at the collar of his shirt. He didn't sound concerned, just idly curious. At least they're dark. If you're lucky, he won't be able to tell at all. His smile bent a little, and it went silent between you. The only sounds were the rustling of the bugs and the breeze, and the faraway crashes of the waves on the sea. You couldn't help but reflect on what had happened only a brief time earlier. Between this and your room, this almost felt like a different world. Was it even real? What happened between you two? You could almost be convinced it wasn't, that you'd never actually stopped dreaming. You stole a glance at Cove. He caught you and blushed. That little reddening reassured you. Cove remembered same as you. What you had was real. I'll ask him if he wants to catch fireflies. I'm a little too emotional to catch them myself. It'd be kind of a waste if we were out here and didn't try to catch fireflies. Let's do it. Oh, can't I just watch? I don't know if I can stand up. Cove turned his head towards you with a bent grin. I think that sounds like a plan. You smiled at each other and Cove rolled his fancy sleeves up. Then he clambered up to his feet, full of bug-catching enthusiasm. You got up and brushed off your clothes. A pesky blade of grass tried to stay stuck to your back. With simultaneous nods of your head, you both ran around the hill trying to take hold of the flying creatures. Every so often, one of you would succeed, like the children you once were. You would race over to the other to show off your catch. What had actually changed? The fireflies were as bright as ever, and you laughed together the entire time. The hour grew late and the fireflies mostly dispersed, until only a few stragglers remained. Then even they blinked out of sight, leaving you alone with Cove in your thoughts. Cove stole a second to release the words that had been filling his head during the quiet. I love you, Joseph. You felt a great deal of happiness. Cove's expression was completely open, honest, and full of sincerity. He meant every word. He truly loved you. No matter how much it didn't seem real yet, it was. It felt as though this was a night that would never end, but you knew it would have to, all too soon. You were only grateful to have been a part of it. These were moments to truly treasure. You'd never let yourself forget them. Oh god. Best moments yet. Can we click ahead and see him crying? No, we can't. What? He was crying for a second in this CG. Whatever. Alright. So, glad Kuro was just having a moment that wasn't permanent. You thought at first that Kuro was laughing, but then he was still going. You didn't think I was crying. You didn't think I was laughing, but you didn't think I was... You thought it sounded like asthma. It sounded like asthma. Is that what I sounded like? Well, it was not asthma. I was crying. I was bawling my eyes out because I was overwhelmed with emotion at this beautiful man I see before me. He crept into my heart without even asking. And I fell in love with a video game character, genuinely. And he just told... That was a moment yesterday, wasn't it? I mean, I feel like the whole game almost has been leading... You were concerned, girl, you were concerned. I feel like the whole game was leading up to this moment. I'm actually almost a little bit shocked this wasn't part of the epilogue for Step 3 because it was so powerful. You thought I was a good voice actor? No, that was me crying. I'm not a good voice actor. It's like... You sounded great, honey, and cute as well. Yeah, but yeah, so like I said, I'm a little shocked that this wasn't part of the epilogue. Just because it felt so powerful, and like that's how like the Step 3 should have ended entirely, but it was the best moment I played so far. You love Kuro's voices? Oh, Noriko, you missed it yesterday, didn't you? You missed me crying. Oh, that's sad. But yeah, it's like this game like this is my favorite game, my favorite VN I've played now, even though it's not technically a yaoi VN. It's not technically a yaoi VN, but this is my favorite VN I've ever played now. And I think it deserves that spot because, I mean, first of all, the art in this game is gorgeous. Like, that was one of the reasons it attracted me in the first place. Let me take a bite of cereal. You had to sleep? I'm sorry. Don't worry, I'll upload it to YouTube. You'll be able to see me cry later. Go as a character you wish was real? Yes, we all do. But, you know, everything about this game is just absolutely amazing. Like, at first I thought the idea of, going ahead and starting out with your love interest when he was, like, 8 would be kind of stupid. You know, and then growing up with him to 13 and 18, and then, like, what's Step 4? 20-something? 20-somethings. 22s, 23s, 24s. Whatever. There will be yaoi scenes in the next step. It's not going to be in the next step, I don't believe. It's going to be a totally side thing, technically. And you can only get it if you subscribe to their Patreon. Not subscribe, but if you're a Patreon supporter. I don't think you can even buy it as a regular DLC, I think. I don't remember. But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, I thought the idea was kind of stupid of growing up with the character. But, you know, girl, I grew up with this character. This is the life I never got to experience. This is the life I never got to experience, and like, that all just came bursting out of me yesterday. Because when Cove told me that he loved me, I realized that, no one's ever gonna tell me that, except for Cove. Which was kind of sad. That was also, you know, I was crying for a lot of reasons, but I was like, I'll never have this. This is another reason I was crying. But also I was crying because I'm also in love with him. You should try to play this game. Not now, but someday. 23, you think? 5 years apart? This game changed your life. It's expensive for you, since you live in Poland. But you'll scrunch up money for your DLC. Is Poland a poor country? It's isn't it a fairly average European country? Was it a poor country? I'm not aware of that. I'm sorry, I was not aware of that. And what do you mean? The game's free except for the DLC. The DLC is only like $5 per step for like $10 each. Or no, for $10 combined or something. Life you didn't get to experience, girls. Same. Don't say that you will find love. I mean, don't say that you won't find love, you mean? You've seen the concept before, this is better executed. The other ones were big Ari. This game has a life we wish we could live. European countries pay more for most video games. Yeah, it's not homophobic? Are you sure? Because I heard that someone made a painting or something of Mary with a rainbow background. Mary, the mother of Jesus, with a rainbow background, and the person who made that art got thrown in jail for like a year while awaiting their court trial. What? They haven't even had their court trial yet, and they're just in jail awaiting their court trial. Like, hello? So free speech, you know, maybe doesn't exist there. And especially, you know, homosexual freedom of speech doesn't really exist, is what I gathered from that. Costs more money when you change it to dollars and you're disabled. Neat. It's true. That is sick. It was sick. It was sick. But enough about the sick things. What about Cove? My beautiful, beautiful boy. Oh my god, look at him just looking at me with the Firefly in his hands. Ugh. I want to go back to yesterday and experience it all over again for the first time. I really do. Yeah, but like I said, it's surprising that this managed to be my favorite VN, even though it's not explicitly a yaoi game. The writing is just so good. It really takes me into the character. It really recreates like when I was 8 years old, I felt 8 years old. Through the writing, I felt 8 years old. And same for 13 and 18, it's like they encapsulated those experiences well, I think. Seeing Cove and looking in his eyes makes you miss him more. Yeah, they just, I don't know who they have on their rating team, but it's just incredible. And when did you guys say the Step 3 DLC is coming out? I think someone said in March, isn't it? Sometime in March it's coming out, so we don't actually have to wait that long for at least a little bit more our life, but yeah, we still have to wait a little while, which I'm torn to ribbons about. Ugh. Cove has hot, stinky breath. Get out of the chat. Get out of the chat. No one needs you here. No one needs you in this chat. This game has helped your therapy process. Yeah, sometime in March. Like, I don't know if another game will ever make me cry or feel the way Our Life did. Unless, of course, they make a sequel to Our Life. Our Life, you know, with a whole nother character, which could be very interesting. I think they said they are interested in making a sequel to this game once they're finished with it. I think they said that. But yeah, I don't see another game having this effect on me in the same way. I don't feel myself falling in love with someone else quite the same way. Cove is perfect man, perfect boyfriend. He is. He's so perfect. He's so perfect, even though, God, ugh, even though he's not real. They're making an R Life 2? Yeah, that's what I thought. They said that they are interested in making one. But they have to finish this one first. What do you think the R Life 2 is going to be like? What do you think? Do you think in my head they revealed the love interest for R Life 2 on Patreon? They have? Interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. Maybe I need to support them on Patreon so I can see everything. I mean, I'm gonna have to support them eventually, so I can get the 18 plus moment with Cove. Because I need that moment. I need that moment. Lord knows I need that moment. Our Life 2 is all women, is that true? Or is it just some of them are female? Are we gonna be like the adopted child of Cove and MC? That'd be funny. What's this game? This is Our Life. We're just having a little powwow session about it from yesterday. The love interests, a they, them, and a she. Interesting. Alright. I think we perhaps gushed enough about Cove. So that'll be the end of the Our Life discussion. I'm completely in love with him though. So it absolutely hurts me to have to close this window. I don't want to.